Sounds good to me.
One family says that growing your own food is like printing your own money. My awareness on the topic of food insecurity first began on one of my annual summer trips to the Philippines. Growing home, my mom did not bring my sister and I to the city or to experience the luxuries of the capital, rather immerse us in the true provincial life where her own father was raised. As this exposed me to young children and impoverished families who unfortunately had to choose if they wanted to eat lunch or dinner every single day. A standout moment was when we were serving the town lunch, as every time we would go home, we would put on a little luncheon for locals to have a meal with us. When a little boy around the same age as I at the time brought a Tupperware and declined his portion of the spaghetti that we were serving. Instead, he politely asked that we fill up his Tupperware so that his whole family could have dinner to share that evening. Um, and so, all peoples, regardless of their socioeconomic status or background, should have access to quality food and nutritious meals. So, this morning, I invite you all to walk with me as I discuss the topic of food insecurity, defining exactly what this term means, sharing statistics on people here in the United States who experience food insecurity, and proposing a solution that you all can contribute to and be a part of. To begin, food insecurity is an ever-present issue here in the United States among signs of socioeconomic status, race, and the presence of children. But first, what is food insecurity and why is it such an urgent matter? As defined in the book Food Insecurity published by Yale, food insecurity refers to the situation in which individuals or families have unreliable or limited access to safe and nutritious food supplies. Food insecurity in the U.S. is and has been an issue with a substantial percentage of Americans reduced to poor access to quality food. Specifically, the Tribune Content Agency graphics states that in 2018, 40.3 million Americans experienced food insecurity, receiving assistance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Also, in May of 2021, the LA Times cited that the food bank estimates that 1 in 4 people in Los Angeles County experience food insecurity. Namely, there are disparities that exist across lines of socioeconomic status, of race, and the types of children. The 2020 COVID-19 pandemic has recently helped to expose these inequalities and how they are relatable in the topic of food insecurity. With staggering numbers of Angelenos losing their jobs due to business closures or company layoffs during the pandemic, a lack of monetary security was experienced, which ultimately affected their means to have access to quality food. The LA Times, in this article, stated that people lost their jobs or got sick or had sick loved ones. They racked up enormous amounts of debt and dig themselves into deeper and deeper holes. So families that were typically food secure experienced what families in lower socioeconomic statuses prior to the pandemic had normally experienced. More specifically, since the pandemic began, the LA Times cited that since the pandemic began, the number of people receiving food from the LA Regional Food Bank has tripled from 300,000 to now more than 900,000. This is almost a million people locally here in Los Angeles County experiencing food insecurity. Support, or also households with people of color and households with children tend to experience food insecurity at disproportionate rates. In this article, or in this book, The Poor and Developed Countries by Sandra Alters, he states that households with children had almost twice the rate of food insecurity as households without children, 15.6% compared to 8.5%. In addition, disparities occur across racial lines. As from this article, from this newspaper article, the Philadelphia Inquirer, compared with white individuals, black individuals were 3.2 times more likely, and Latino individuals were 2.5 times more likely to experience food insecurity in the American student. So, what can we do? On the topic of social change, any topic, philanthropy is a keynote in the discussion, as at the end of the day, some form of capital is needed to affect change. This applies to feeding the hungry and providing quality meals and access to nutritious food. Ivanchik in this article perfectly demonstrates this. In this article, she describes an event that an organization put on to fundraise to feed the hungry. He said that attendees and planners discussed their pride in being able to raise so much money, illuminating their passion for helping others with less resources. This conveys the idea that philanthropy at the end of the day does contribute to social change. But monetary donations also highlight a few issues, as citizens often blindly donate or only do so to support a do good mentality. So in the same article, it lectures comments on the American generosity discourse of citizenship that is premised on philanthropy and volunteerism. So this kind of notes to that idea that oftentimes citizens will donate or volunteer just to say that they've done so instead of actually supporting the cause that they're doing it for. He also states that most of the guests don't even know what the money goes for. Again, supporting that idea of blindly donating to a cause instead of going further and understanding the community that you're helping. But in order to spark a change in food disparities so that food security becomes an across-the-board standard, we need to spread awareness and teach those around us of the current food security goals, and also encourage a focus on the long term. Self-sustenance and sustainability is incredibly important in the conversation of social change. By planting roots in generational change and teaching individuals to sustain their own diet and nutrition, especially as no one else is going to help them with that, like the county, ultimately a lasting change is implemented. Ron Finley's organization, the Ron Finley Project, does just that. According to his website, the Ron Finley Project is teaching communities how to transform food deserts into food sanctuaries, and teaching individuals how to regenerate their land into creative business models. So Ron Finley created this organization because he himself grew up in and eventually raised his own family in a food desert in South Central LA. This community did not have proper access to quality food. So in his TED Talk, he talks about planting these vegetable gardens, and doing so, he invites younger members of the community to help him to plant vegetable gardens on front lawns, sidewalks, and vacant lawns across South Central LA. In doing so, he is working towards generational change. This is lasting change. By encouraging younger members of the community, he teaches self-sustenance, which again can be passed down through generations, and is taking strides towards food security in more communities. So I invite you all to do the same. Take a stride in promoting food security in more communities. You can do so by visiting this link. You can copy it down in order to join the movement and learn more about the Ron Finley Project, or to also sign up to volunteer to help the organization. You can also donate using this link to donate to the Ron Finley Project, as any monetary donation amount will ultimately help the organization move towards achieving their goals. So, to summarize, food insecurity is where individuals or families do not have adequate means or access to quality meals. Certain communities, however, experience food insecurity at disproportionate rates. Food security is a tiny issue that calls on us to enact change that food security instead is experienced among more individuals and communities. Again, you can visit these two links to be part of that change and to enact lasting generational change. So to finish, Ron Finley says, I'm manufacturing my own reality. Revisiting and adding to the quote from the beginning of my speech, while we cannot print money, we can teach those suffering from food insecurity to source their own nutritional needs and to be self-sustenant, and ultimately help them to manufacture their own new reality.